Okay, so today we're going to be making a citrus cake, and our foundation for our cake is going to be a buttermilk vanilla cake. With the buttermilk vanilla cake, essentially you can tweak and make to whatever flavoring you like. We are going to use a little bit of vanilla as well, and that will be our base for our citrus cake. Now, I did have the opportunity to have this beautiful citrus that I prepared earlier. I sliced them, and these are actually going to be our topping. This cake is inspired by Claire Saffitz. She was on Bon Appetit. She just came out with a book called Dessert Person, which I hope to have my hands on soon. We are also going to use a little bit of lemon, and I'm going to show you guys how we will zest the lemon and what to look for when you're at the store and you're looking for a lemon, what you should look at when you're trying to select it, and what the purpose of your ingredients are going to do. So let's get started. We're going to use a reverse creaming method. This is something that I did learn from Claire Saffitz. And the reverse creaming method is basically your flour and butter first. Now, when you bake, a traditional bake is going to be your butter and your eggs and your sugar. And that's going to be your foundation. That's really common for cookies. And most cakes are usually going to be prepared in that way. Something to consider when you are going to be pouring your flour. Flour gets really compact when you're opening the pack. It kind of stays kind of thick. So what you should do is just grab a spoon, grab your measuring cup, and just sift it a little bit. But we're gonna go ahead and put in our 3 cups of flour. One cup of very soft room temperature butter. When you bake, it's preferred that you use unsalted butter so it doesn't alter the salt levels in your bake. If you don't have unsalted butter, that's fine, just use it. Just remember later when you are adding your salt, maybe add half the salt. But honestly, some people really like their desserts a little bit saltier. It's not too big of a problem. So let's go ahead and get started with our reverse creaming here. All right, it looks really good. It really doesn't have a smell yet. All we're really smelling right now is the butter. But you can see that when you touch it, it almost feels like cornmeal. That means that your butter is really incorporated. The butter is saturating the flour here, and that's what's gonna give us a little bit of a sturdier foundation for our cake. Yeah, it looks great, I'm happy. This is gonna work for us. We're gonna go ahead and add our 2 cups of sugar, and I'm just using regular granulated sugar. And I'm gonna give it a toss. Remember, when you're turning on your stand mixer, or if you're using a hand mixer, don't go to high right away. Start it at a 1. Now we're gonna go in with our vanilla. Now, I think home bakers usually just use McCormick vanilla. Honestly, I always have. This is my first time to use a fancier vanilla. I do smell a difference in the quality. This was $10 at Whole Foods, $9.99. It's organic, but I really don't have a preference towards organic or not. It does smell really, really good. So let's see here. We're gonna need 1 teaspoon. Now this recipe, it is a big recipe. 3 cups of flour is a rather large cake. So we're gonna go ahead and add our our eggs. And I am using a large egg. Doesn't matter if you prefer to have an organic brown egg. Essentially what we're looking for is just a large size egg. I always keep a little bowl to keep my shells in. And check for bad eggs. You will smell a bad egg, so trust me. If it doesn't have a fragrance, it doesn't smell at all, you are just fine. Uh-oh, how many eggs is that? 1, 2, 3. I don't know why I put 6 eggs in the cup. Sabotaging myself. I can smell the vanilla and it smells really nice. So let's give this a little rinse. I don't like to have egg material here. Okay, so I think we're about ready for our buttercream and then our flavoring agents. Now is a good time to go ahead and add your baking soda. This is gonna have, let's see, 3/4 cup kosher salt. Okay, so this had 2 teaspoons baking powder, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, 3/4 teaspoons of kosher salt. Now, here's where we're gonna add our flavor. So we did add a little bit of vanilla, but this is gonna be a citrus cake. Citrus is really fragrant. This is an Australian citrus. So I hope they're in season. I think that they are. The oranges that I cut earlier and how to buy from were absolutely delicious. So I already washed my lemon. I am gonna add a little bit of lemon zest to this. Lemon is very much like a candy, but it does add a little bit more of that citrus flavor that I want to really come through on this cake. Oh yeah, it smells so good. All right, I think I'm good with that. I kind of want that pulp in there. I think it adds a really nice texture, but I got a little bit of the fiber of the orange, so I don't want that. Okay, so this recipe requires 1 1/4 cup of liquid. When you buy buttermilk, you want to shake it. So give it a good shake. So we got a little bit less than 1/2 cup, so like 3/4 of a cup. So pretend I'm doing math and just do the rest. I'm surprised how pink that juice is. Again, slow. I might actually just give this a hand toss here because the wet and the dry are not quite yet combined, so I'm just gonna toss this together with my spatula. Okay, so now we're just gonna go ahead and give this a whirl. All right, that does it. So what I'm gonna do now is just start to scoop from the bottom, take off my handle, and give it a taste to make sure that our flavors are on point. I feel like my sister Anna would never do this. Growing up, she never wanted to wash dishes. If there was like a piece of food left on the plate, if it was somebody's leftover, if she doesn't touch raw chicken, she doesn't want to touch silverware that somebody else has used, she basically, you have to wash the dishes for her to wash the dishes, so it makes absolutely no sense. Okay, so don't forget, scoop the sides of your bowl. And again, make sure that little pocket underneath where the blade doesn't quite get, just go in there and make sure it's all combined. I guarantee you it's not gonna be. So just go in there and make sure that the flour is incorporated. The butter is well incorporated, the eggs are well incorporated, and you can see and really smell the zest. It smells amazing. This whole room is like fragranced. Wow, it tastes really good. You can really, really taste that citrus coming through. I actually feel like I want a little bit more citrus, so now's the time to come in and modify your recipe if you need to. Okay, I already have my cake pans buttered and lined with parchment paper. If you want your cake to come out, you need to line it with parchment paper. It's really the only way to guarantee your cake's gonna come out well. Grab any old parchment paper, draw a circle around your pan, put it in here. Just melt some butter, and with a little brush, just paint it in there, and then just put your parchment paper in. I'm gonna set this aside. I'm gonna show you the citrus tray. Really just love these oranges so much. Look at this. This is so creepy. And I bought some Lone Star grapefruits. These are nice and pink. They look really pretty. And you want to slice them thin. So this is, relatively thin. They're going to bake, and you don't want to necessarily eat the peel. We are going to bake it with the peel on, but it's going to cook. So it's going to be a little bit candied, a little bit sweet, and it's going to be edible at that point. I wouldn't recommend just going ahead and eating it now, but coloring here. And remember, this is gonna be an upside down cake. So this is gonna be the top and your cake is gonna be on the bottom. So let's see what we can do here. Orange. Yeah, I'm gonna have half them. Do, 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 do. Okay, so I have color graded my citrus somewhat. I've never done this, so I'm not sure how this is going to turn out, but you know, we'll live and we learn. Now, something about pouring the batter that I learned the hard way. You don't want to fill up your pan all the way because when it bakes, it's going to rise and then you're going to have an exploding cake all over your oven. So fill it up below the line. You want to give yourself room. And I would say generally no more than here. Okay, so let's just smooth it out. All right, I think we hit it right on the mark. So let's set it aside and we'll fill the second one. I just scoop all the batter off and then it's gonna be ready to bake. And I don't know yet how long this is gonna take. So we're gonna start off with about a 20-minute check-in. So we'll be back in about 20 minutes. Okay. All right, so while our cake bakes, we're gonna go ahead and use that time to make our frosting. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start with our whipped cream cheese. Oh my gosh, yeah, super whipped. I did set this out maybe about 30 minutes ago, so it's a bit softer. And yeah, we're starting off in a good place already with some whipped cream cheese. Now to this, we're gonna add some confectioner sugar in a little bit, but I'm gonna start with my whipped cream. So this is also probably gonna be a bit much for this recipe, but since we are just doing this together, I'll post a final recipe. This is 1 pint. I'm gonna add about a half, so about a cup. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start with 3 heaping tablespoons for about 1 cup. Here we go. And then you're gonna start it slow. Like I said, always start your whipping, anything that you're gonna be whipping or mixing slow. And then we're gonna go ahead and put it all the way up. And this is a point where I like to taste it now that the sugar has dissolved in there, because you don't want it to be too sweet. If it's too sweet, we can go ahead and add some more whipped cream now. But once this is whipped, we can't really be adding whipped cream to it. It's just not gonna work out right. So let's go ahead and give it a try. It actually needs a little bit of sugar. All right, so let's add about a half a teaspoon to this. Oh my gosh, this vanilla smells so good. Wow, holy moly. Whew. All right, we have stiff peaks. Really smooth frosting. Okay, we're just gonna wait for our cakes to come out, and then once they're fully cooled, we're gonna go ahead and slice, and then we're gonna fill with cream and a bit more oranges because I have some more, and then we'll be ready to assemble. Okay, so we're gonna unwrap our cakes. Look how easy that was to take that out. It's the parchment paper, does an amazing job. So this one is pretty flat. We can even it out just a bit. This is always the best part of the cake, the little top. So we're gonna slice this and see what we can do. Moment of truth. Ah, okay. So we're just gonna pick that off. And we're gonna have our second cake here. All right, very good. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and put our parchment on. I'm gonna flip it over so that we can cut the cake top like we did on the other one. And it'll hold it together, so, all right. Come in and... Okay, so we're gonna dollop some whipped cream right on the bottom. And remember, this is a cream cheese whipped cream. so it's a little bit sturdier, and you can see it turned out really, really velvety. It looks nice and glossy. It looks absolutely perfect. And this makes a pretty large cake, like I said before. Feel free to cut it in half so that you'd have a 2-layer cake. And again, so pretty smooth side, upwards, up to the top. All right, and then we repeat the process until we get to the top layer. We're not gonna put anything on this top layer because the whole point is for the citrus to show through. I'm impressed. For my first time, I'm pretty happy. I'm just gonna get a paring knife and clean here a little bit, and then show you what it looks like once it's finally finished. Okay, so I cleaned up the top a little bit. Definitely learned some lessons along the way. I would say maybe better coverage. I would slice my citrus a little bit thinner now that I see what it looks like in the final product. I'm really impressed with the actual cake, and we're gonna slice into it and see how it looks and get a taste. Okay, so let's see how this turned out. Try the cake with the icing. Yes. You'll get such a nice, just like a feel. The cake is crumbly, but it's holding together. You can see it's like, you can chew it. Let's try this citrus top. Wow, even the rind is really good. It's kind of rendered out that bitterness. You do get that peel, bit of a chew, but it's not like inedible. Like, you can definitely eat the rind. I would slice it thinner, so maybe my final recipe, I am gonna have it sliced thinner, but yeah, I think this turned out great for a first time. I really love this cake base. Again, this is a buttermilk vanilla cake base, and we made it a citrus cake today. So hope that you're inspired to try something new. Take a stroll down the grocery aisle and see what you find that might trigger you want to bake something. If you do, let me know what it was. Thanks so much. See you later.